this poll from DemosAU is a striking one for several reasons. One, the government's primary vote has dropped below 30%. And two, perhaps more strikingly, the Liberal primary vote is now on par with One Nation at 23%. Now, this is from One Nation's perspective, this is brilliant because they're at, this is an all-time high for them at the polls. Whereas for the Liberals, this is very much an all-time low. But in the next slide, there is something that I think is very interesting and not something that is commonly put out with these sorts of polls. What this shows is who people voted for last time. So, for example, at the top there, you've got people who voted for the ALP in 2025. And then in the bar below, that is who they plan on voting for now. So 77% of people who voted ALP in 2025 will vote ALP again. But 11% of them are going to vote for One Nation. But then you look at the Liberal Party and, oh boy, have they got problems. 31% of the people who voted for the Liberal Party in 2025 will now vote for One Nation. And that is a big problem for them. It is an existential problem for them because that would smack them quite hard in terms of the number of senators. And also just rather, frankly, almost insane statistic that came with this particular press release is for the first time, a pollster did a two-party preferred number for not the ALP and the LNP, but One Nation and the government. And for the LNP versus Labor, it was 52-48 in favor of the government. But in terms of One Nation versus the government, it's 50-50. Now, that to me is just striking and kind of wacky. Now, that does come with an asterisk. It comes with this is very much experimental, treat with caution. But if that is even within yodeling distance of reality, that's deeply concerning for both the Liberals and the Labor Party, because Labor is geared up to fight geared up to fight against the coalition. If they end up having to fight on multiple fronts and somehow that support ends up coalescing into different voting blocks which threaten them in their sort of what has become their more traditional areas, that could cause some real problems for them.
It's very interesting because it's a similar story in the UK where we've got Nigel Farage's party now very much dominating the agenda and dominating the polls, actually, because neither side of the mainstream politics in the UK is able to actually address any of the issues. And a lot of people are saying they're both as bad as each other. Labour got in with a big majority, but now they're actually absolutely on the nose. The other side don't seem to know what they're doing. So people are almost in desperation grasping for alternatives. The trouble is that some of the alternatives that are out there and their policies are not necessarily truly formed, but they are quite popularist in terms of what they talk about. And given that, I think the next election round could be quite interesting in a number of countries.
Indeed. I mean, I think part of the issue is that One Nation has not historically been great at choosing candidates and then maintaining cohesion after those candidates get elected. There are exceptions, like people like Malcolm Roberts who've stuck around for a long time, but then there's a whole heap of others who have, shows they've gone off on side quests. And this isn't a problem that's unique to One Nation. This is a problem that other major parties have had. The Greens have had it with Jackie Lambie. Jackie Lambie had it with Tammy Tyrell, and the Greens had it with, her name escapes me in this moment, but it's not an uncommon issue. And I think that's really Lydia Thorpe from the Greens. And that's I think one of the problems going forward, because let's say just magically that this sort of poll is realized in reality. Now we have absolutely just bugger all idea how the preferences are going to flow if that comes to fruition, because you're talking about a cohort of people, generally speaking, have never voted One Nation, and that would be the majority of One Nation voters. So working out exactly how the preferences are all going to flow on that would be a nightmare. Anthony Green would be glad he retired. But, you've got that, you've got that very, very sort of serious issue of just how all that works out. And not only that, but if One Nation did do well and they did get a bunch of MPs, how are they going to hold things together? What is that going to look like? And I maintain that looking at these numbers, this is very fertile ground for an upstart third party. Now, if I was a billionaire and I wanted to influence Australian politics, this would be the time. You create an upstart party with some good established figures, not necessarily politicians, but good established loyal figures. And oh boy, under these conditions, focusing on the right issues, you could make some noise.